Hi, I'm Bobby Cobb with the Presence Posse, and I'm here with my Presence Posse Podcast partner, 4Ps, Miriam Segal, and she is here to tell us about a new program that she has just launched through her newly launched Miriam Segal Academy called Undefiable. And I have had a chance to talk to Miriam while we're doing the podcast and everything. And this class, I so wish, Miriam, that you had done this 6 years ago, because as I read your brochure, I felt like I was reading a story of what I've been through over the course of the last 6 years, the journey of my life. And as I read that, I thought, man, if this had been available 6 years ago in a 12-week program, I would have saved myself so much wonderful time. So I'm really thrilled to be here talking with you about it. So tell us, if you would, a little bit about the program and what you're going to be teaching in it, and just a good general overview of what you're doing here with Undefiable.
Thank you, Bobby. I am thrilled to have launched and be working on and with Undefiable. And the program actually is a training in exactly what it's called, being undefiable. And undefiable, understanding undefiable as cannot be defied. So it's training in leadership, in standing your ground, in getting clear on who you are and what you want, and staying with it. It is being able to take decisions and really just being empowered and knowing that I am that. And I have no reason to fear.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. It's got one of my favorite books that I read probably somewhere along that way about 3 or 4 years ago was a book called The Obstacle is the Way. And this has a very much obstacle is the way type of feel to it. Who's this program designed for? Is it something that anybody can benefit from, or does it have a kind of a specific target audience in mind?
Well, I think anyone would benefit from developing the kind of essential life skills that I train in Undefiable, or that I teach people to train themselves how to do. Mm-hmm. So there are people who have many of those skills already. But we all, and myself included, because I've trained for many years, there's always something new that I need to sort of go back and remind myself that I actually master this, or I need to adapt this to now this other part of my life. So anybody can benefit. What I do notice is that people who seem to not have moved into their leadership and their empowerment and their mastery, they know they have something. Like, have you ever been in a situation where you know your idea is better than everybody else's, or you know that you have a solution that's better than the boss's or whatever, and nobody listens, or you can't get it across, or you don't even say anything because, what's the point? I'm not the boss if somebody else has got the power or whatever, where you kind of give up before you've even started.
Yeah, you never get it.
How loudly you speak. Yeah, you're not getting through. This is training in not staying like that. This is training in, again, acting, empowering, mastering, and noticing what's in the way of that and working towards overcoming. So Undefiable also becomes a way of overcoming my own challenges. You talked about obstacles. I like to use the example of a tree in a storm. If the trunk of the tree is not strong enough and not flexible enough at the same time, it can break. The tree can be destroyed in a storm. But that combination of flexibility and strength will allow the tree to survive even the worst gale winds. So this is the kind of training that Undefiable is meant for.
Oh, I love that. And one of that tree analogy, the other thing the tree needs is a very good root system so that it's grounded. And one of the things that I was thinking as I went through this, and kind of just part of my own process that I went through. There were things that I wanted to avoid in order to have a certain mindset. And, I was worried that, God, if I go out and try this, it may kind of mess with my Zen a little bit. And I didn't want to do that. But as I continued to do work on myself and do a lot of self-inquiry and self-discovery, I found that the more grounded I got, the more interested I was in putting myself in those situations and doing it in almost a playful, or kind of setting a challenge for myself to kind of see, where are the boundaries, and can I push those boundaries, and can I transcend those boundaries? And that's very much the sense that I got from reading through the brochure. So I guess another question that comes up is, what would somebody who goes through this course and participates in it fully expect to learn and be able to do, and what changes might they notice, and what shifts might they expect to witness as a result of the course?
I love that question, and I love it especially because you use the word notice. And anybody who's followed anything to do with the Presence Posse has noticed that we talk about noticing a lot.
It is out there.
It is definitely out there, and that's actually one of the things we start with in Undefiable. In Undefiable, the U in Undefiable is unattachment. And that is staying present and noticing, not attaching to things. So I start by noticing pretty much everything, but being very, very concrete about it. So I don't put any evaluations or judgments or interpretations into my noticing. I notice, and I practice noticing. I notice what's going on in me. I notice what I'm looking at. I notice when I make assumptions. I notice when I make interpretations, what kind of interpretations. I notice when certain emotions come up, in what situations. I notice what I like. I notice what I don't like. I notice whether I'm reacting or not. I notice and notice and notice. And I do nothing other than notice. I notice when I'm doing other things than noticing. And it allows me to begin to develop, and as time goes on, develop even more distance between my feelings and reactions and thoughts and assumptions and judgments and all of that, and what is actually just there. So the idea with that kind of training is to become less reactive and more reflexive. What is this telling me? What am I noticing? How can I meet that? How am I meeting it now? How is that serving me? Is it serving me? Can I do something else? And what would that be? And the more I notice, and the more I allow myself the time and the distance, the more informed my decisions make, and the less fear. Because if I'm just noticing, I also notice that nothing's happening. I'm not in danger. So I have the opportunity to learn something and try something out and grow and master and improve. And then it becomes not scary, but as you described even, it becomes a game. It becomes fun. It's like, what's the challenge today? I can choose a small challenge. I can choose a large challenge. Or sometimes challenges are thrown at me. But I know that, okay, if I stay noticing, I can surmount that. I can handle that. And I notice that I handle it. And so my confidence builds. And all of this happens very organically as we train in Undefiable. So it starts with noticing, and then it goes to all kinds of other essential life skills that we need.
I love that. And I think of that space also of giving one the opportunity not only to be less reactive, and we can be so triggered. And, we oftentimes will in a bad mindset, or if we're overly stressed, we can just like react so quickly, and almost as the words are coming out, we can feel ourselves trying to reach out and grab them and say, "Oh, I want those back again." I didn't mean to give reaction to that. And
What have I done?
and that distance creates the space for us to become more proactive and have a little bit more choice in life, and to really go out and do the things that we're moved to do, rather than just feeling like we're putting out fires all the time. So
Yes. Yeah, very good description.
yeah.
And it is the opportunity to, I won't say remove regret, but definitely lessen it.
Mm.
Because if I am present and in my mastery, I don't have to act in a way that I will regret. And even if I do, I can then look at that and learn something from that. Again, noticing, what did I do? Is there something I could have done differently, or can do, not could have done differently, because it's over. So that's another thing we learn on Undefiable. We practice letting things go.
Mm.
I can't change what I did, but I can change what I will do, or at least practice what I will do. And then learn that I don't have to regret.
Yeah. And man, that lesson is so liberating when, I think probably everybody listening to this has an intellectual understanding. The thing that I love about the idea of this course is it creates the opportunity to go beyond just the intellectual understanding to the embodied realization that we are so much more powerful than we realize, and so much more resilient than we often realize. And it does give you the opportunity to challenge yourself in a lot of ways, knowing there's nothing to fear. And in that process, create a situation where there is no failure, there's only feedback. And it gives you the opportunity to maybe take another approach to get the things done that are most important to us in life. And, we all have those sometimes hidden dreams that we would really like to accomplish, but because we're living at the direction of other people, we don't have the opportunity to really give those ideas voice and get them out there. So that's all about to change for the people that sign up for this course, isn't it?
Definitely. I'm one of those people. Like, there's no way I could have developed this program without having done the steps myself.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, and I mean, it started really with, well, it's been a process that's been ongoing for me for many, many, many years. But in the last few years, especially because I was so interested in how people could get more out of their coaching and therapy sessions, or anything they did to improve themselves. It was really, I wouldn't call it an obsession, but it felt really important. I was so interested in this and so focused on it that I ended up doing research on it, formal research on it. And I discovered a certain set of ways of doing things that actually worked. And that was really the catalyst for Undefiable and the other programs that I'm still developing, because there are things you can do, certain steps you follow in a certain order, and they work. Well, as long as you do them, they work. Yeah. And that's, one of the main things about doing this course. You actually have to do it. It's not one of those things where you just, it's self-study or supportive self-study, where you get the exercises and you get the information and then that's it. No, you actually have to train. And the opportunity to be in the group and give feedback and say, well, this is, I'm doing this and this is a challenge for me. And then I can give feedback on try this or try this, can be very helpful. So that during the 12 weeks, it's a very ongoing, hands-on doing and being process.
So it sounds like clearly somebody who is just interested in, the type of person that may binge how-to videos on YouTube and just enjoys the process of listening to that, but doesn't really want to implement. any of these strategies, they're probably not a good fit for this class, because it is about getting the embodied realization as opposed to just the intellectual understanding. Is there anybody else who might be listening to this that you might say, if this is the way that you're wired, this may not be a good fit for you? Or is anybody who's willing to do the work going to benefit from it?
Generally speaking, I would say anybody who's willing to do the work, and not just willing to do the work, but actually does it, they're going to benefit.
Right, yeah.
As we do, I mean, anything, as long as we do it, we benefit somehow. And even when things supposedly go wrong, as long as there's something I learned from that, I've benefited somehow. So there's gain even sometimes when there's pain. There doesn't always have to be pain, but even sometimes when there is, there's gain. I think in the movie 8 Mile with Eminem, way back in the 80s, that one of his lines stuck with me. He and his friends are talking about their dreams, and the friends are talking about the dreams, and suddenly he just gets very frustrated and says, all we ever do is talk. We don't actually ever do anything. And so he went out and did, and succeeded. So the idea, of course, is do it. You have to do. But having said that, or should I say, and having said that, anybody who even considers taking Undefiable, that's a start. If you're considering it, there's something you want, and there's something you feel is missing. And you may not be ready to actually act on it. But perhaps during the time in Undefiable, you will become willing and ready to act on it. So I don't discount people who necessarily aren't quite there, but it's a very important step to actually be there and do the doing as far as there is doing in Undefiable, and you will see results. If you're not there yet, you're not there yet. So it might not be the time to start. Maybe you need to put it aside and just kind of let it hibernate in you for a while and develop, have it in its cocoon. And then when the butterfly is starting to get ready to hatch and needs a bit of help, that's Undefiable. Because somehow you got to get out of that cocoon. And the only way to get out is to not back down.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
if you're backing down with yourself still so much that you don't act, you're not ready. But that doesn't mean you won't always be ready. Give yourself a chance. That's the idea. If we give up on ourselves, there is nobody else. There is just us. So if you're there and giving up, just know that that's where it is. Notice that. Start with that. Notice, I'm giving up. And maybe you want to ask yourself, am I willing to keep doing this? Am I willing to keep giving up? Or am I ready to start considering something completely different and be open to the opportunity or the idea that I can experience something completely different, and it implies I have to do something different myself? Then you might be ready.
And that's what this course is all about. Now, I know the self-study course in English is already available, and Norwegian is coming soon for your country folk who want to take the class. Tell us a little bit about kind of what is the structure, what is the investment, and what are all of those particulars that some people may be wondering that are listening to this?
Thank you. Well, it's a 12-week course, as we've mentioned. There are 10 modules, so some of the modules, they're a bit bigger. So there'll be 2-week modules. There are 2 options. One is a complete self-study. And when I say complete self-study, there will be 2 question and answer sessions during the program where I show up, and you can send in your questions ahead of time, or we do them live, depending on how many people are on the live. They will be recorded and available for everyone taking the course. So that's the self-study, and that is at the moment $500. And then there's the supportive self-study, and that is the same as I just described. And there are 4 additional group teaching sessions where I will be on and working with you, helping you to understand if there's something you don't understand, and maybe demonstrating a training. So somebody might be a lucky person and I help them as a demonstration, so that you're not just doing the whole thing on your own, because there is a fair amount to learn. There are a lot of concepts to learn, and the exercises, I like to think I explain them very well, but even so, sometimes it could be a bit difficult, or you want some feedback on your progress.
Yeah.
And then you have the opportunity for that. So there's the supportive self-study, and that is at the moment $750.
Perfect. And where would someone who is interested in signing up today go to begin the enrollment process?
If you are looking for the information in English, you go to www.centremex, CENTREMEX. That is a shortened version of Center for Mastery and Excellence, centremex.com. And for the Norwegian version, you go to www.centerformestring.no.
And I presume the people who speak Norwegian, that sounded perfectly fine.
I hope so. I like to think so. I'll always have a bit of an accent, but it's part of the charm, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this is an exciting course, and it's so much in harmony with what we talk about on the Presence Posse podcast every week. And it's a good opportunity for people who've been listening to the podcast to take some of the concepts that we talk about and actually delve into a process that will help you implement them in your life. As I said, I spent 6 years trying to get what it sounds like I could have gotten in 12 weeks. And I know that for me, the 6 years, I wouldn't, well, I would, if I had it to do all over again and I could do it in 12 weeks, I would. But if this was never available, I would not change the process that I went through to get where I am now. So I'm excited for you to be offering this, and I'm excited for your participants to be exposed to this material. I think it's just fantastic. So, Miriam, thank you very much for taking some time out of the end of the day. We are on opposite sides of the world.
Yes,
Before we got on this, we were texting back and forth to each other, and Miriam grabbed a quick dinner while I grabbed a quick breakfast. So through the wonders of technology, you'll probably have participants from all over the world.
Yes, fortunately.
Yeah,
Fortunately.
that's awesome.
I'm very grateful for that. And thank you ever so much, Bobby.
My pleasure. Ciao for now.
Ciao. Ha det.